What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about WANDAVISION. We're going to get caught up on episodes 1 through 5. We're going to talk about cameos, who's who, and who is Monica talking about when she says aerospace engineer. All this and more on the after credits scene. So we're going to have a really spoiler-heavy episode here about WandaVision episodes 1 through 5. And if you haven't watched it yet, shame on you. There's a new episode that drops tomorrow, and we got a whole lot to cover. We're kind of late to the game, so we're just going to blow through episodes 1 through 5 here. There's a ton of stuff to talk about. We're going to start in episode 5 because that cameo. Don't know what you guys think. There's a lot of speculation going on. There might be another cameo that's bigger than that one. That Paul Bettany was talking about someone else when he said that he was getting the opportunity to work with somebody he hasn't worked with before. I tend to think this is probably as big a cameo as you're going to get. Maybe there's something else, but I think the cameo in the middle of the season was a big thing to get everybody going. And then the end of the season is going to be the twist. Who's in charge? Who's doing this? How did it happen? We've seen a lot of trailers that talk about, that have shown Wanda going in to get Vision's body, just like we saw in episode 4 whenever Director Hayward shows us the CCTV footage. I think you're going to see that from the other perspective, just like we've been seeing stuff inside the Hex and outside the Hex. You're going to get that from the other side, from Wanda's perspective, where you can see what she was really doing there, why she was there. I think that's going to answer a lot of questions as well. But I don't think, in my opinion, that you're going to get a bigger cameo than that. Pulling in Quicksilver from the X-Men universe is pretty huge. What that means, whether it's a multiverse thing, whether some other entity is manufacturing that, I don't know. To set a few things straight, I don't think that Wanda knows who it is. I don't think she's done it. I don't think she's in charge of that. She's just as surprised as anybody about who it is when she opens the door. He has to say something about being her sister before she actually says Pietro's name. And then he kind of nods like, yeah, that's who I am. Something else interesting, which we're going to talk about later, about who's in charge, who's not in charge. When the door opens, the audience cheers as if the audience knows who it is. If Wanda's in charge, why does the audience cheer? That may be reaching a little bit, but that's where I'm at on that. I don't think she knows who it is until he says something, and then she hugs him like, okay, let's go with this. I think she knows that it's not real. She knows clearly from that episode, because she goes outside the bubble, that it's not real, that she's got everything going on in here, and that's what she wants, and that's how she wants it. So whenever this pops up, I think she just runs with it. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. There's a ton of other things in episode 5. I think episode 5 hits us really heavy with some dialogue stuff that's just on the nose, and I think it's important. Besides the fact that Wanda can't control her children, which when she has the babies in episode 3, she can't control the stork. She tries to use her magic on it. There's a puff of red, and then the stork is still there. I think it would be really easy to chalk that up to she's not really in control of her powers. But, those kind of things pop up where she has contractions and her powers go haywire. Is that because she doesn't know how to control her powers, or because there's something else going on there? I don't know. But that's already been hinted at. But then when she tries to control the babies, not only do they start laughing about it, but then when they grow up, Agnes says, children, you can't control them. It fits the TV trope, but it is definitely deeper than that, and she knows it. Also in that episode, there is a moment where they find the dog dead in Agnes's bushes, and they start having this conversation about, we can't bring people back from the dead, we can't do this, we can't do that. Agnes acts surprised when she says, you can, the kids say, bring it back from the dead, and Agnes says, oh, you can do that? I think it is very telling that Wanda has this big spiel here where she says you can't do that. You can't grow up. You can't run away from your disappointment or your frustration. I think that's very telling that she did not maybe create this world out of some kind of PTSD or some kind of grief. I think something else happened there that we don't know yet. But in the midst of that conversation, when they're talking about bringing something back, Vision shows up and says, bring who back? That's foreshadowing. That, like I said, the dialogue hits some stuff right on the nose this episode. The theme song, in and of itself, don't discredit the theme songs. They're awesome.
You wander the world with a vision of what life could be.
That's crazy. It's pretty blunt. It's pretty on the nose. But I think it's telling. Also, if you'll notice, the paintbrush at the beginning of episode 5's intro is controlled by Wanda. You can see the little magic swirling around it. She starts painting Vision first. I think that's intentional. A lot of times they don't do things by accident, obviously, as you know, in these shows. But I think they're pointing at something that we haven't quite gotten all the information about yet. You'll recall Norm in episode 5 saying, you have to stop her when Vision kind of brings him out of it. Obviously, they want you to think it's Wanda, because that's what Vision thinks. And you're getting, Wanda has some information that everybody else doesn't have. Vision is the one in this show that is getting things like we're getting them. He's discovering things the same way we are, and he's willing to suspend disbelief for a lot of things that happen until episode 5. Obviously, we know better. We've seen some things. Monica seems to think at the end of episode 3 that it's Wanda, that Wanda's doing everything. Does she really recognize Wanda's voice in her head, or is Wanda's voice in conflict with somebody else's voice? Or maybe somebody is tapping into her powers some other way. We're gonna hit that at the end here, but maybe Agnes, who is Agatha Harkness. I don't think there's any doubt about that. If you look at some of the backgrounds from the intros, especially the very first intro where it says Auntie Agatha, and with a cat on it in the background of the supermarket, and then in episode 5 you hear Agnes calling herself Auntie Agnes, and then obviously if you take her name right over here, Agatha Harkness, and you can get Agnes out of that. I think that's important. I think that, might have been something that they came up with a long time ago to try to figure out that character, but I think all of those spoilers and theories, I think all those are right. Agnes is clearly not who she seems, especially in episode 5. She knows. She's not in and out of it like Norm is. We got that dichotomy, right? Norm is being controlled and he had to come out of it, but Agnes did not. So something's up there. She's not being controlled by it. Maybe Dottie. We haven't heard a whole lot about Dottie. But let's take all of that stuff and go back through episode 1. Norm says, you have to stop her, right? Go all the way back to episode 1. It makes a lot more sense when you go back through this stuff. And it doesn't really give us much in episode 1, except, kind of an intro into what world we're in. Little side note, it's important to know, again, the theme song. When they start that theme song, the first thing you see is them driving into town having been just married. That's important because at the dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Hart, they asked them a ton of questions. When were you married? Where were you married? How did you get here? And neither one of them can remember. I think that's important because later on in episode 5, Wanda says, I don't know how this happened. Even though Vision thinks that Wanda's controlling it. It's because the only thing he knows. It's the only power that he's aware of, and he knows, based off of some of the things that he's seen, right now, all the evidence for him points to Wanda. Don't discredit those theme songs. There's a lot of stuff there that they can throw into it. Especially, look at TV shows now. They're really leaning heavily into all these old TV tropes, okay? The sitcoms of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, 80s, and 90s. They introduce a lot of characters. Some TV shows today introduce what's going to happen in the episode. Those things happen a lot. If you've watched Titans, the pictures in Titans on the words kind of give you a sneak peek of what's coming. Same kind of thing, I think, where people are, you're getting some information that informs the episode you're about to watch. So Wanda and Vision don't know what's going on. When Mrs. Hart starts telling her husband, who is choking, to stop it, it looks as though she's talking to him, but then she turns and looks at Wanda and tells Wanda, stop it, stop it. As if her subconscious is somehow acknowledging, you have the ability to do something about this, don't you? Or maybe you're in charge of this. To which Wanda then breaks character and tells Vision to fix it. There's a whole lot of things going on there. You know, remember Norm said, someone's got to stop her. If she's hearing a voice in her head too, just like Monica did, just like Norm did, they're naturally going to assume it's Wanda because they're new in town. They're usually around when crazy things happen. And it would appear that maybe she's the only one that can do something about it. When you get into episode 2, you start getting, so you get kind of a cliffhanger at the end of episode 1. What's going on? And you're getting introduced to the world. Episode 2 starts giving you rules about the Hex, right? And you see those things, even though in episode 3 you see them from the other side, right? Everything that comes into the Hex doesn't just get changed in perspective, but it gets rewritten. Obviously, they didn't know that Wanda could do that. Maybe she doesn't know she can do that. That would be my guess, is that she doesn't realize, how is this all happening? I think she's just along for the ride. Everything's being rewritten. The helicopter, the jump rope, which you see in episode 3. The beekeeper. What happened to the beekeeper? You know, this guy goes in, and then he gets rewound. Where's he at? The booms in episode 2 that get brushed aside as the tree. Maybe they were the tree. My guess is, if you go back and listen, some of them sound different. I think the booms are a note to let you know auditorily that something has breached the bubble. I think inside the bubble, that's what you hear. Outside the bubble, obviously, they're giving you, the sirens going off in Sword headquarters, where they say, something's breached. So you're getting it from both sides, but I think they're setting up the world quite a bit. Don't forget about the Easter eggs again in the intro of episode 2. When Vision phases through the floor to the kitchen, you get that little segment of the subfloor that has some bones, and it has a helmet that looks like Grim Reaper. That could pop up again. Maybe they're setting up something for later. Maybe he's part of it. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of Easter eggs that I think might be important, and some of them that might be misdirects, and so you got to pay attention to some of those things. You can watch through this show and not worry about all this stuff. It is crazy enjoyable, but all the little things in there add to the enjoyment of it. The dialogue in episode 2 rears its head again as Agnes and Wanda are walking to Dottie's meeting. Agnes makes the point to say, if you want anything here, you need to talk to Dottie. And then later on, when Dottie says the devil's in the details, and Agnes says that's not the only place he is. The sarcasm there and the back and forth, to me, would indicate that Agnes is talking about Dottie. I know you haven't seen Ralph yet. I would wonder if that's a misdirect as well, and maybe Dottie is more in on it than we think. If I had to guess, I would not say Ralph. I would say Dottie. That's just me. Because they kind of gave you that point blank. There's some misdirects going on here. We don't know what's happening, but that all goes back to some TV tropes that they're playing with, and we'll kind of hint at that here at the end. In episode 3, the distinctions between the characters get a lot more fleshed out. You get Monica, who is clearly on the side of, I need to find what's going on. This needs to be a peacekeeping thing. Director Hayward, you're finding out that, look in his office. He's got hex patterns on his floor, on his rug. His pictures on the wall make out a hex pattern. There are And I would be willing to bet there's another set of hex patterns in there. So 6-sided things, 666. Again, hinting at Mephisto. But who is Mephisto? Where's he at? Is he inside the bubble? Is he outside the bubble? Is he both places? I don't know. I would be worried to find out that somebody outside the bubble is not who they say they are. If I had to guess, my money would be on Wu. I could see very, very possibly Wu not being who he says he is, and being able to go through both worlds, or maybe control things on the outside and the inside, or maybe he can't get in, and he's trying to get in. Something happened, and now he can't get in. I thought the throwback to the magic trick from Ant-Man was really awesome. Maybe that's just character development from Ant-Man and the Wasp, or maybe it's a hint that he's got some powers, that something's happening there. Again, lots and lots of misdirects and ways you could take these things, but they're notable. They were in there for a reason, and I think that's really cool. And again, somebody like Vision on the inside is just a viewer like the rest of us. Somebody like Darcy on the outside is just a viewer. She just found a signal and started watching it. She even says later, I'm invested. She's in on this. So those two characters, we're where they are. So the way that they view things is how we're getting things as well. And then, like I said, the dialogue is really important there.
I try not to speak ill of people.
Then allow me, Hayward's
with terrorists.
That happens in episode 5 too.
He is family. Bring him back, Mom.
Bring who back?
Those things are put in there for a reason. Now, are they in there as misdirects, or are they in there because there's really a problem? I think, especially in episode 4, you're getting the character development, right? So you got the intro to the world in episode 1, you got the rules of the world in episode 2, you got the shift in episode 3, like the twist. You got some of the twist, right? She has babies, so there's a twist inside the world. Episode 4 is giving you what happened up until that point, the other side of it, and you're getting some character development. You get character development in episode 3 from the people inside the story, right? You get character development for people outside the hex in episode 4, and then episode 5, the worlds start colliding, which is really interesting when you think about the cameo that happens at the end. Those worlds are colliding, and now you get this cameo from somebody who's never been seen in this world before. Very, very interesting. Again, Hayward may be the villain here. Maybe that's a misdirect. I think it's interesting when Wanda comes out of the hex in episode 5, she says, I have what I want. And then she looks over at Hayward and says, and no one's going to take it away from me again. So Wanda, again, knows something. And her and Director Hayward share some knowledge there that everybody else doesn't know, including Monica. And I think you're going to get more of that later on. Monica is not going to sit and wait to find out what's happening and what's going on. The rewatches are really yielding a lot of valuable information. You can see things, now that you know some things in episode 4 and 5, you can go back and watch 1, 2, and 3 and go, oh, I see that now. And that's really awesome. I think it's really cool that Marvel has created a show that has some rewatchability like that. I think that's really cool. There's a lot of stuff to unpack out of these first 5 episodes, and I can't wait to start doing episode reviews one at a time. I just wanted to get us all caught up here. So I hope you guys watch this and get ready for episode 6. It's going to be really awesome. The internet is going bonkers over these theories, and that's part of why I want to just unpack all this at one time. Mephisto, Agnes, who is Agatha Harkness, Dottie, the Grim Reaper. Are these people going to show up? I think there's a lot of Easter eggs that may pay off in the show, but I also think there's a lot of things that may come up later on. My guess is that there's, maybe Agnes is Agatha Harkness, that she has been drawn to this somehow, and she's aware of it, but she's not in charge. There's a lot of TV tropes at play in this show, right? If you got to think about it from Jock Schaefer's point of view, if she's writing this in our time period, she's going back and paying homage to sitcoms of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Side note, I can't wait for the episodes, the Office-style documentary episodes where they're going to talk to the camera. I think you're going to get a lot of character development in those episodes. But if the writers are putting this together, they're gonna use a lot of those sitcom tropes from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. You get a lot of stuff in here about the different, who's the villain, the whodunit, the twist, the misdirects. All those things are common sitcom TV tropes. The lesson that has to be learned. You got a lot of that in episode 5. Your father and I don't think you're ready for a puppy yet. And then that gets flipped on its head when the kids age up. The conversation that Wanda has with her children about not being able to bring back the dead and do things. They're teaching lessons, but you're also getting that Marvel twist to it as well. These TV tropes are in there. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, Google TV tropes. There's actually a couple of websites, we'll link to them here, that give you a lot of that stuff, and you can look through that. But real quickly, who's the director? Who's the writer? Who's the producer? Who's the editor? My guess here is that Agnes is somehow involved in that, but she's not the director. Now, whether, I think Mephisto is a really strong guess and theory, but given the stuff we know so far, but is it Ralph? Is it Dottie? Is he somewhere else? Is he the director? Is he the creator, the writer? Who knows? But I think you're going to find people falling into those TV tropes, right? Who's the writer? Who's the viewer? Who's the producer? Who's the editor? You're going to see a lot of that stuff. I think it would be really easy to put Wanda either in the producer-editor role, but maybe not the director, or vice versa. You're getting some of those things, especially when in episode 5 she has the ability to start the credits, which, by the way, I know the internet has been going crazy, making memes and all kinds of things, sitting there going, why are we not getting after credit scenes? It's so funny. Sitcoms don't have after credit scenes, then the movies did, and we're not getting after credit scenes. Episode 5 gives you an after credit scene. Wanda starts rolling the credits, and Vision just powers right through them, and they get the episode at the end, and that's where you get the appearance by Evan Peters' version of Quicksilver, which is fantastic. And then the TV trope where Darcy says, oh, she recast Pietro. That happens in a lot of TV shows, and they blow right through them. If you look at I Dream of Jeannie or at Bewitched, the characters got traded out, and nobody missed a beat. They just kept on going. That's another one of those things that pops up there that you can pay attention to and maybe catch some things during the episode that you wouldn't catch otherwise. Something else to run you down the rabbit hole, go back and watch episode 5. I have a theory that things appear in pairs. When we're talking about multiple realities, the windows in the house are in pairs, the pillows are in pairs, and there's a red one and a blue one. A lot of the characters show up in pairs. Things happen in pairs. That's obviously a nod to the twins, but that's also, I think, there's some other stuff going on there, especially creation-wise, that you need to pay attention to. There's a whole lot of awesome things that happen. I'm just going to leave you with this one because it's my favorite one. When we're talking TV tropes, when we're talking episode stuff, my favorite moment, other than the cameo in episode 5, is when Monica gets thrown out of the hex by Wanda. You get a demonstration of her powers. You get to see that other side of the world in episode 3, and then it catches up with it in episode 4, and then you get even more in episode 5. They're really making that pay off. But the really cool thing there, the TV trope that you need to catch, is that Monica gets thrown through the living room wall, the baby room wall, the fence outside, and then the wall of the hex. She gets thrown through 4 separate walls because she mentions Ultron, which in TV speak means she's breaking the 4th wall. That stuff is just, the details are amazing, and I am here for all of it. I hope you guys are too. Thanks for sticking with us. We got a lot more stuff on our website. You can like us, subscribe to us, follow us on YouTube. Go to our website, theaftercreditscene.com. Add to our blog if you want to. Comment on Instagram. Go to Twitter and send stuff out like wildfire. Super excited to be here with you guys. Can't wait to be a part of this journey with you all, and we'll see you next time.